Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tout le monde, those who understand French. Let me start the lecture. I hope you are okay, you're not too tired. I'm going to be brief and focused. Okay, the objective of this lecture is basically to raise some issues. I would like to be a bit different, questioning the whole issue about sustainability of tourism, talking about the developing countries, what are the problems of really having a sustainable tourism policy, and then discussing about a template. What type of template should we have in order to follow, in order to achieve the goal of a sustainable tourism or tourist destination? So, my introduction, you already know about it. So where is the enter? Good. So this is going to be the organization, okay, of my lecture today. I'm going to start with, which you all know about it, I won't waste time on that, about what is the meaning of a sustainable tourism, what is the meaning of sustainable tourism, and then I would talk about the tourism sector. What are the different trade-offs which exist, because you have to balance between economic gains and trying to decide about whether you want to have a sustainable tourist destination. And one of the issues would be about revenues and development, because, many developing countries, they depend on the revenues from the tourism industry, and trying to adopt a sustainable tourism destination can be very hard because it is very costly. I would talk about the problems of developing countries, especially a small island economy like Mauritius, is how to diversify the economy, because there are many countries, many developing countries, they depend on the revenues from the tourist industry, and then trying to put the cost on them in terms of, okay, you need to have a sustainable tourism sector with all types of indicators which are created by international organizations to which you are supposed to conform with. It becomes a problem because there's a trade-off. You see, it's very easy. It's very easy today that, you don't differentiate among the different types of countries. For one country, it's very easy to come with new rules and regulation, especially the developed countries. But for the countries which are at a lower level of income, which are poor, where the tourist industry, for the people, it is a means of survival. For them, tourism, it means survival. Tourism means trying to fight against poverty. But for other types of countries, tourism, because they are at a higher level of income, okay, trying to come up with new indicators, sustainable tourism. These are things which are fashionable. You all know about SDGs, okay? Previously we had MDGs, You just try to change, the wine from one bottle to the other, okay? And you get the same wine, unfortunately. So I would like to question, I would like to raise issues because, as students, as professors, it's good to question the mainstream. And this is what is research. And this is what you don't go with the mainstream, you try to question, okay? Questioning does not mean opposing. Questioning means trying to look for the best solution, okay? So I believe that today, when we look at the developing countries, for example, Mauritius, we'll talk about that. When we look at the developing countries in the African continent, and even in Eastern Europe, you find a lot of these countries, they are at the different levels of development. They are at the levels of development where they want to shift from low income to middle income. But other countries, they are already at a high level of income. And other countries, they have benefited from all the resources in the world, okay? They have benefited from all types of resources, and now, when other countries are trying to move up, they just come with the new rules and regulation. And that's why they are trying to come up with Now they talk about sustainable tourist destination, which is a good thing. But what are the costs? The costs at times, they are in terms of human lives. They are in terms of higher poverty. Okay? The costs at times are in terms of trying to reduce expenditure. You lose revenues from tourism because you have to come up with a clean or a sustainable tourist destination. So we'll talk about these things. So what is happening to the developing world today? The developing world today is in a situation where there is world competition. There is world competition even for tourism travel. You know, this is a very lucrative business. Tourism is a very lucrative business, travel and tourism. And there's world competition. And how to compete? How to compete and try to get a share in the tourism industry. Then, if you want to get a share now, you need to obey the rules of the game. It is just like World Trade Organization, okay? So you have to obey, you have to follow the new rule of the game so that you are able to get a share of the market. Very soon you will be seeing that there will be new indicators in tourism, which are already there, you will see, where they would try to tag you. Your country is not sustainable from the tourist point of view. Your country is not a clean tourist destination, okay? Your country, you know, it's just like China, for example. When China does well, people talk about human rights, okay? But when other countries do well, they don't talk about human rights, okay? When China does well, people talk about the quality of goods, okay? This is all geopolitics. This is all, in economics, we call that the political economy, okay? There are, you know, I keep telling that, you know, I am basically an economic activist, an economic activist. I like to question the mainstream policies, but coming with solutions, obviously, and I like to be constructive. You know, there are many institutions in the world, unfortunately, they make people play football, soccer. You know about soccer. They make you play football, soccer, so you start training, you organize yourself, you try to lose some weight, not me obviously, so that you can play your football well. So you learn dribbling. When you reach the goalpost, you don't see the goalpost. And this is what is happening in the whole world. When you reach your destination to score, the rule has been changed. Okay? So that's why I feel that people from the South, people from the developing world, there are many of our leaders who just go and sign international treaties. We are happy to go in a first class, get received, okay? The big guy would give you an accolade. You will say, oh, this guy is a good man. And he gives you a nice champagne, you sign the treaty at the cost of your people. So it is very important, okay, to question the mainstream. So what has been happening in the whole world? You all know about the international financial crisis. Which country is responsible? What are the different countries which are responsible? We all know about that. And the cost of the financial crisis and the world recession is more on the poor people. Okay, this is what I was telling my minister yesterday, who is here for ITB. He's telling me he's poor. I said, yes, you are poor, but you have 20 million euros in your account. Because you don't have 100 million, that's why you are poor. Okay? So everything is relative. Okay? So what is happening to the whole world today is you have a situation where, because of international solidarity and obligations, many countries in the South, they have to accept, they have to obey. Otherwise, they are seen to be the black sheep. Okay? Look at President Mugabe, for example. I always tell people in my country, I want a president like him. I want Mugabe to come to my country because we have lots of things to do in my country, okay? So, but unfortunately, there are some people, some institutions, they are the people who set the rules of the game. International assistance. You find a situation where, because of international financial crisis, there's a big problem today. You don't get money, you don't get assistance. Now, there's a big competition between China, India, Europe. I've already talked about this. So, we need to question, okay? How do we balance our gains and losses? If we want to have an economically sustainable environment for tourism, how do we balance? How do we calculate our gains and our losses? And who are the people, which are the countries which are suffering more from the new rules of the game? This is very important. Secondly, I personally feel that we need a differential approach. The indicator which is good for the developed countries should not be the same indicator for the developing countries. There should be a differential approach for success. Why do you think that the Millennium Goals did not work? The Millennium Goals did not work because we were all trying to do the same policies. It's just like me. I tried to join a gym. I always say that. My wife is after me. She tells me, you know, you have to do something about your weight. I joined a gym. But unfortunately, when I joined the gym, my tutor put me in the same class as very young guys who are 20 years, 18 years old. I tried. I failed. Why? Because the indicator is the same. Okay? There should have been a differential approach towards me, that I am a very old guy, okay, that I should do a different type of exercise, not the same one which the youngsters are doing. You see? So, from this analogy, you should understand that we need to fight, not me, developing countries or countries with lower level of development. Even in Europe, we have people, countries which are at a low level of development, countries which are indebted, like Greece, for example. There need to be a different type of sustainable indicators for tourism. So, Mauritius, you know, it's good that I talk about a small island economy like Mauritius. You see that as all countries, a small island is, we have the resource constraint, the logistics are bad, we are far from the main markets, we are right in the sea, in the Indian Ocean, okay? The business setup is very difficult because you have few people owning everything, okay? Then you have the problem of getting economies of scale. Diversification becomes difficult because you are mainly agricultural. It's difficult to diversify because you have to compete internationally, okay? And then we are vulnerable to the climate change, and this is where tourism, trying to develop a destination, a tourist destination which is sustainable becomes difficult. One, you have to survive, and second, you have to develop a destination which is sustainable. You can see the trade-off. And unfortunately, I always say, you know, when the elephants are fighting, okay, it is only the herbs which is down, which is facing all the costs. This is what is happening. The big giants in the world, they are fighting. Each one is fighting for a position. Each one is fighting to be number one. Okay? Each one is fighting to get the resources from the developing countries. Each one is fighting to find markets, okay, for their radioactivity, to find market for all types of waste, okay? But which are the countries which are suffering? The costs are always on the low income, on the poor countries. So we are highly dependent on exports, okay? A small island economy like Mauritius, for example, we are highly dependent on tourism. We are highly dependent on our exports. We are dependent on Europe, on other countries to export our products. Once there is a crisis, so we are doomed. So my idea is basically, I have borrowed this from something known as, I wrote it here. Okay. At times I don't understand my writing. Yeah. Sustainabletravel.org. Okay? You will get it on the internet, but I've used this template. Okay? And this is one thing that I should tell you, as students, as researchers, the first good thing in life and as a researcher is honesty. Anything that you take from anywhere, you have to mention. Okay, this is very important. So I try to see what template we use so as to have a sustainable tourism destination. There is no blueprint. There is no one-size-fits-all. But we need to have at least a minimum to have the best practice. So how do we do it? How do we try to organize and create a clean or a sustainable tourist destination? Do we do it through partnership, having all the different stakeholders? At times it's very difficult. Do you try to do it through facilitation, give facilities? Or do we try to have, oh my God, okay, it's good. Do we have to have tours? Look at the different methodologies where you try to look at the right balance, okay? Then, this is the standard definition of sustainable tourism. It's very simple. Sustainable tourism means you have a tourist industry which is efficient, which is productive, which is efficient in the use of our economic resources. Simple. Okay? This is too long. Sustainability means efficient use of resources. That's all. Efficient use of our non-renewable resources. Efficient use of our environment. Let me have my whiskey. Good. Right, how do we do it? Do we do it through education? Okay, training? Do we do it without any fuzzy maths? Fuzzy mathematics, you do big models, the physicists, the economists, they sit down, they do lots of algorithm. Finally, it's very beautiful to see, just like a makeup, okay? Once it rains, all the makeup goes, okay? For the men, I won't say women, okay? Finally, what happened? Nothing happens, okay? Do you use a big model? If you go to Harvard, you go to America, you will see lots of mathematical modeling, but nothing happens in the end. It is just like spices, okay? Now, how do we do it? Do we do it through megaphone? Megaphones basically is through marketing, storytelling, okay? People talk about the different destinations, or do we do it over time? Because sustainability is not one shot. It is not done in one day. It is a long-term phase program. So, it's difficult to do it. It's easy to say. Should we train our future leaders? Should we train our future politicians about why should we have a sustainable destination? Okay? What are the different conditions? Should we train? Should we come up with sustainable tourism professional training program? Okay? You can see the title. Or how do we do it? In terms of evaluation, planning, and marketing, this is also another way of doing it from the template. You evaluate the destination, you plan, and you do a marketing. You provide information, you provide the technology. And remember, here you have to work in a very planned way. You develop a detailed plan for risk management and tourism development, okay? You start trying to look at the resources in the economy. You use a shared monitoring system, and then you try to collect data on the destination where you're going to come up with a clean, sustainable tourist destination. So this is simple thing, yoga, you look at communication, etc. Or do you come up, another option would be a sustainable management system. You come up with a sustainable management system. for the tourist industry. This is what I'm talking about, sustainable standards, where you say, okay, this country is a clean, okay? Who is going to decide? You know, it's like game theory. I don't know whether you know what is game theory. Game theory, the whole world is a game. Game theory means, you know, it's just like a play of chess, you know, a game of chess, okay? You use different strategies. Unfortunately, everything is a game theory. And students who've done economics, you would know that. Why is it that after so many years, the armament problem is still there? Because two countries know that, oh, if I stop, the other one would continue, so let me continue. So game theory, this is also a game theory. Okay, like who is really going to look at the debate about the low carbon emission? Countries which are really producing lots of waste, these are the countries coming with rules. Okay, so you have to look at whether the standard that you are having, is the standard sustainable? Okay, you're coming with a standard, you're coming with an index for all the different countries. Okay, do you know World Bank does that? Index of governance, index of doing business. This is another new animal, okay? Another new index, okay? Sustainable. Is a sustainable standard sustainable? This is the question that you should ask, okay? So these are some, you see, some of the criteria that people are using now. Global tourism criteria indicators, okay? Do you use e-marketing support? You will get these things from the internet. I don't want to waste your time. Let us look at Mauritius. Mauritius, as an ambassador, I should tell you about Mauritius, okay? Mauritius, Mark Twain said that God visited Mauritius first before creating heaven. So, if you want to see heaven, you should visit Mauritius. And if you want to see an angel, you can look at me. Okay? From heaven. Okay? Right. So let us try to see what are we doing in Mauritius. Okay? To be sustainable, because Mauritius is a tourist destination. Mauritius is a very attractive tourist destination. We have the same problems like all countries. What are we doing to be sustainable? Okay? What do we do? I'll just try to talk about some of the few policies which are being done, okay? One is, you know, the concrete actions, you know, by the Ministry of Tourism is to come up with low-rise and low-density development. That is, we are trying to say that in Mauritius we should not have skyscrapers. We should have buildings up to 3 stories, up to 4, but no skyscrapers, you see? Then, in Mauritius, they are trying to monitor the hotel projects. There are too many hotels in Mauritius. Now there's a big problem. And we have a big problem that in Mauritius, you know, the property, land is owned by only few people. Hardly 1% of the population, they own the whole land. And you know, in a small country, the price of land is very strategic. So they are trying to have, you know, speculation. There are projects known as integrated resort scheme. These are projects, you know, like marina, like high flats, you know, where people from South Africa, they are running away from South Africa, they are coming to Mauritius, and they are in enclaves, okay? We are against that. We Mauritians are against that because finally we are having a parallel economy. One part of the economy where you have the very rich people like David Cobham, how do you call it, that footballer? Beckham, all these people, they have big, big houses in Mauritius. Big, very expensive one, okay? So you have a parallel economy which is bad, okay? So that's why the government is monitoring the hotel projects. We are trying to protect the fragile marine ecosystem, okay? We are trying to the speed limit zones have been demarcated to protect our lagoon. So to make our, now, pleasure craft permit is being No pleasure craft permit is being issued in high concentration zones because of accident with tourists. We are trying to brief the skippers, people who work on these pleasure craft. Then there are examinations which are taking place. We are using renewable energy-saving devices in the hotel. Okay? Then the hotel projects are being approved, subject to promoters making provision for the use of renewable energy. Okay? Then we are trying to develop our ecotourism, our blue economy. Then we are trying to mitigate the impact of the climate change on the destination. So now we have eco-label for tourist enterprises. We have the Blue Flag program. The Blue Flag is an eco-label for beaches. We are trying to classify our beaches, our marinas, our pleasure craft. We are promoting environmental education and information. We are trying to look at wastewater, water quality, environmental management, safety devices, but basically we are trying to develop Mauritius into a clean destination in terms of tourism. Okay? If you look at the Mauritius perspective, Mauritius has placed a lot of emphasis on how to adapt to the climate change. So these are some of the policies which have been done. We are trying to look at the coastal zone, which is, due to climate change, we are really suffering from some of the problems of environmental problems. We are developing our ocean economy and fisheries. And thank you. So this is the website where you will get the template, sustainabletravel.org, and I've been collecting some issues on the Mauritius Tourism Promotion Authority. I want to know how much how much time is left for me.
We are actually out of time, so
Really?
we can maybe take one or two questions brief.
Okay, this is what I would like to take, because I like questions much more than I get bored lecturing. I like questions.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for an excellent lecture. Let's express our gratitude.
Yeah. Thank you.
And as always, we would like as many voices as possible to be heard. So please don't be shy in case you have
Please, don't
questions
be
or
shy.
comments for the ambassador. We'd welcome that opportunity. And as always, if you can raise your hand and then briefly introduce yourself when posing the question or making the comment. Who would like to go first?
Even if it is in French, il n'y a pas de problème, je parle le français très bien, mais l'allemand, je ne comprends pas du tout.
So French or English, anything is possible? Yeah, okay, excellent. In the back.
Yes, my friend?
All right, he was first, and we'll go to the back, and then we'll to the front. Okay.
Hi, my name is Joshua Rodriguez, and I'm from the U.S.
Ah.
So I guess with
Yes.
with such a big island like Madagascar as your neighbor, which they have, movies, like the Penguins from Madagascar and Madagascar 1 and 2. So how does your island, differentiate with such kind of like a country that has so much like name branding, just like Madagascar has? So how does Mauritius kind of...
You see, Madagascar is a very, very rich country in terms of resources, okay? How do we differentiate is only in terms of governance. Madagascar is politically very unstable. That's where the country has lagged behind. But then if Mauritius is an example of success. Why? Because of institutions. Because in a country where you have good institutions, where you have good governance, at least for some time, okay? If you have 10 years of good governance, the country can grow really well. So we have been lucky so far, okay, that we have been having good governance in Mauritius. And we had, not only that, we had a lot of protected markets, I should say. Safety, okay? Safety markets, I call them, where we could export our products without paying tax, duty-free. We had a long time where we could sell our sugar to Europe, okay, at a price which is higher than the world market price. So we had our protected markets, which really helped us. But now Mauritius needs to be independent in many ways. This is the difference. Thank you.
A final question here, a brief question and a brief response, please.
Yeah.
I know that you are looking for the French people. Okay. My name is Mr. Emmanuel. I come from Congo, DRC.
Okay.
Okay, my question is little in French. Comment le gouvernement mauricien est arrivé à mettre une politique aussi dynamique comme ça en termes de tourisme? Comment il est arrivé à mettre cette politique, dynamique de politique?
Vous savez, le...
Yeah, so.
You understand English?
Yes, I understand English.
Pas de problème, okay? So, you see...
The question I'll just translate briefly. He was asking how was it possible that there could be such a dynamic strategy and policy for Mauritius in terms of tourism? How did that come about? Was the question, please?
I should be very honest about you that the strategy, we've had a very good strategy because it is governance. Governance, governance, governance. We have the right institution, we've had the right minister, we've had a people who are environmentally very concerned, okay? And then, because of our links, you know, everything is historical. Mauritius, you should know that there is no Mauritian as such. It's just like America. Even America, you had these Red Indians, which I know. But in Mauritius, there was no one. There was only the dodos in Mauritius. That also, they were eaten by the Dutch. We don't have any dodo now. So, Mauritius is a country, it's a country of refugees, it is a country of immigrants, I should say that. Okay? First of all, we had, first the Dutch came, the Portuguese came, they left. The French came, that's why I speak French. They came, they stayed over for quite some time, and then the British came, okay, in 1810, and then the British took over the country. That's why we are a member of the Commonwealth, okay? And we are bilingual. And in Mauritius, we had the French-speaking, that is the Franco-Mauritians. These people started the sugar industry, sugarcane plantation. At that time, they went to Africa, they went to Mozambique, they went to Africa to get slaves, to work in their sugarcane fields, okay? And then, with the abolition of slavery, they went to India to get indentured labor, people like my forefathers, okay? They came to Mauritius to work in the sugarcane fields because the slaves, you know, they did not want to. They had enough of it. So they just wanted to move to manual work, okay? It's all historical. And then Chinese came as businessmen, okay? And this is Mauritius, okay? Mauritius is just a multicultural country where you have all types of people. And one success of our tourism industry is the link, the historical relationship. We have a very close historical relationship with France, with Britain, okay? With the African continent, with China. And these are the people who are basically our captive markets for tourists. Now we are developing other markets. In terms of the German market, many Germans are going to Mauritius now, okay? We are trying to capture other markets in terms of the Eastern Europe, Japan, which is not historically linked, but because Mauritius is a clean, it is a good destination, I may say, many tourists are coming to Mauritius. C'est ça la raison.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in expressing our sincere gratitude to His Excellency Ambassador Jankee for an excellent lecture.
Thank you very much.